Welcome back to the 26th episode of the BatChums podcast. I'm Drew Leiter, and joining me tonight is my co-host, the man, the myth, the new legend, Mike Gordon.
Howdy. It feels like ages since I've seen you last, Drew.
It does. Though our audience doesn't know it, we've been on hiatus for 3 weeks.
Yeah, we took a bit of a break in between these with this cliffhanger. So Batman and Robin have been in that trap for a long time. But
Hold their
well,
breath for a long time.
exactly. But we have so we took a little bit of break. So we had to but we're back, and people who are watching or listening have no idea because they just heard us last week, and we really do appreciate everybody who's been listening and watching us.
All right, so this is Batman Season 1, Episode 26, Batman Sets the Pace. Episode aired Thursday, April 7th, 1966. Directed by Richard C. Seraph. I forgot how I pronounced this last time. Serafian.
I think so.
And the writers were Francis M. Cockrell and Marion B. Cockrell.
And definitely want to point out that this is based on an original comic story, or originally it was in the comics, Batman number 53, which is from 1949. The story was called A Hairpin, a Hoe, a Hacksaw, and a Hole in the Ground. And it was written by Bill Finger, who has been since credited as co-creator of Batman the Man himself, did a lot of the writing. The art was by Lou Sayer Schwartz and Bob Kane, with Charles Paris doing the inks. The cover on the book was by Jim Mooney and Ray Burnley. But yeah, this is a Bill Finger story, and I have read the original story, and it's really interesting to compare though, which we will do after we do the recap. But I want to make sure that the original folks get credit for where credit is due.
All right. Couldn't remember if you had told us last time if it was based off a comic. So that was interesting. And it's interesting that Bill Finger was involved. So that's cool.
Yeah.
All right. So last episode, Joker has Batman and Robin put in a smokestack and fills it with deadly gas. So will the dynamic duo be killed by deadly gas? That's a question for Magic Batman. All right, Magic Batman, will the dynamic duo be killed by deadly gas? Magic Batman says, don't count on it. He is right again. I think he's only been wrong once or twice.
Yeah, if that, I mean, who's going to question Magic Batman? Who are we to question Magic Batman? Not I, certainly.
All right, well, let's dig into this recap. Batman and Robin put their backs together, interlock their arms, and use their feet to walk up the smokestack. Joker checks the gauge and sees the deadly gas is 20 feet high in the chimney. Batman and Robin must be dead. Joker tells his henchmen to shut off the gas and pump it out so no passerby gets killed. All right, we got to stop here and talk about this. All right.
Because the Joker is really concerned about, ordinary citizens getting killed.
Yeah, I was like, I'm watching the episode and I was like, what? And I had to rewind it and recatch that. I'm like, the Joker's worried about people getting killed?
not something that the Joker in the comics, especially in the recent comics, well, when I say recent, I mean the last, 50 years, was ever concerned about.
So I had to laugh at that one. The Joker checks the chimney to discover that Batman and Robin are escaping. Joker and his men load up the truck.
I love the fact that they're like, they wave to him.
So the Joker and his men load up the truck and leave quickly. Okay. Batman and Robin.
Pause there for a second, because that's my other funny line here too, is because they're loading up the truck. Joker comes running out of the hideout, and the the henchmen are like, "Hey, Batman's on the roof. They're escaping." And he's like, "I know. Let's get out of here." And he's like, "Do you want me to get a rifle and just shoot them?" And Joker's like, "No, because that would be too easy." And then they take off. And I'm just like, "Oh, you had it right there."
That was a funny scene. I have to admit that. Batman and Robin zip line to the Batmobile using a cable that is already attached to the chimney. I'm gonna stop again because that them zip lining down that line that was so cool looking.
That's cool. Actually, I think them shimmying their way up the tunnel was really cool visually as well. I know
Yeah.
that I know obviously stunt guys were doing it for a little while. You can really tell when you look at the Blu-ray, the high definition, but also there's close-ups of them and they mirrored it pretty well. They were probably on some sort of platform or something, but still they I thought that was a really cool, like I had no idea how they were going to get out of this at the, at the conclusion of the last episode, and the fact that they just like shimmied up the chimney like that, I was like, this just looks badass. Like the muscles and strength it takes to do that. I'm
Hmm.
like, that's an incredible feat. And this might be one of my best, my favorite so far of the resolutions to the cliffhangers, because it just looks really cool.
Yeah, it does. I have to agree with that. Back at the Batcave, Batman uses the metal analyzer to examine the dirt from the golf course and the hairpins, but discovers nothing. Using the hyperspectrographic analyzer, Batman determines that the deadly gas the Joker uses is uncommon. Batman knows only one place that the gas would be available: the Ferguson and Novelty Magician Supply Company.
Because they have poison gas there.
Why? I don't know.
Magic.
Bruce Wayne and Dick Grayson pay a visit to the Ferguson Novelty Magician Supply Company looking for amusing favors for a small dinner party. While Dick picks out the party favors, Bruce uses the one way glass reversing refractor on sale at the shop to discover Joker's hidden back room behind a mirror under the mountain behind the shop. Back at the Batcave, Batman has taken a photograph of the shop. Using geometry, he pinpoints the location of a ventilation shaft that should give them a surprise entry point into Joker's hidden base.
It's not how geometry works. And I don't even really know if that's how photography works, because it looks like a sketch. But it's all fun.
Batman and Robin use the ventilation shaft to surprise the Joker. The Joker throws a switch on the surprise attack defense panel, and a fight ensues with confetti and sparklers buzzing around the room. I me when I I saw that on the back wall and I died laughing. Thinking Joker has a surprise attack defense panel. I was expecting it to do more than just throw confetti around the room,
It
but
was pretty chaotic, though.
it was. This is I have to point out, this isn't the first time we've seen confetti and sparklers and stuff shooting around a room during a making chaos during the show.
No, no. But between all of that sparkles and confetti and the zap boom, pows and all that kind of graphics and everything, and the weird angles of the shots and everything, it's like it's really chaotic and it's hard, very difficult visually to get a sense of the fight and who's fighting, but it's still pretty fun. I think
Yeah,
at this point there's like we need to do something to, like, we can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again. So they're trying to add something new to it. They're trying to add something new to it visually, story wise, and everything like that. So I guess I have to give them credit for, but it just seems like it's, I mean, there's just a lot happening. And granted, this doesn't sort of have a warning on it for, if you are susceptible to seizures or anything, but man, there's a lot going on.
yeah, there sure is. When the Joker realizes his henchmen are losing the fight, he grabs Jill and escapes through the mountain, locking a barred door behind him so that Batman and Robin can't follow. Batman calls Commissioner Gordon and gives him an update. While on the phone, Chief O'Hara rushes into Commissioner's office and informs them that the Joker is on the police radio band. The Joker puts the Maharaja on the phone, who wants Batman to cash a ransom check for him for $500,000. If Batman doesn't comply, then the Maharaja, or the, I heard, am I pronouncing his name right? The
Maharaja, yeah, sure.
the Maharaja, thank you. Then the Maharaja safety is in danger. The next morning, 10 a.m. at the Gotham City State Bank, Batman endorses a check for $500,000. The Maharaja is given the case of money and is about to leave when Batman uses a bat dart to discover a ruse. The Maharaja is the Joker in disguise. A fight ensues, and the Maharaja is unmasked to reveal the Joker. The real Maharaja was never in Gotham. He was on a hunting trip in the Nimpaw Mountains. An hour later, back at Wayne Manor, Bruce and Dick are having tea with Aunt Harriet. Dick reaches for another pastry, and Aunt Harriet tells him no. She doesn't want him to get as fat as the Maharaja of Nimpaw. She saw a picture of him recently in the Gotham City Herald. He was on a tiger hunting expedition. When Alfred informs Bruce of the bat phone, Bruce suddenly remembers that he has a new volume of on tiger hunting in the study. Bruce and Dick make a hasty retreat to the study. Commissioner Gordon informs Batman that he's heard a rumor that he has been asked to go to California and run for governor. Batman tells the commissioner that rumor is unfounded. As long as there is a criminal at large in Gotham, wild horses couldn't drag him away. Holy Golden Gate! Next week, King Tut tangles with the dynamic duo.
Yep, yep. For those wondering about the bit at the end, the in 1966 there was a governor race in California. I believe that was the first time that Ronald Reagan was challenging for a governorship, a political position like that. So that was kind of their spoof on the fact that an actor was running against the incumbent for governor, and um, yeah, so it kind of seems like it's out of the blue and out of nowhere now, but in the context of 1966, it was supposed to be sort of a sort of satirical take on that, because we've already seen. It's interesting because we've already seen Bruce Wayne asked to run for mayor of Gotham, and he's like, no, I don't have time for that. But so to have Batman as governor would be pretty I would vote for him. He's got my bat vote.
He'd have my bat vote as well.
And then if he was to follow along the same lines as Ronald Reagan, then we'd have Batman as president. But that would be all sorts of weird things. But what did you think of the second part of this, and as the story overall for this Joker outing? This is our third Joker outing, I believe.
I like this one. What caught me off guard was the fact that the Joker was the Maharaja the whole time. Now, I suspected he was disguised as the Maharaja when he went to the bank. That didn't surprise me. But him being him the whole episode, it didn't dawn on me they weren't in the same room together. I did think it was weird that when Batman and Robin, or no, not Batman and Robin, when Bruce and Dick went to the magic shop and the Joker wasn't in the hideout with the henchmen, I was like, "Where's the Joker at?" I thought that was a little weird, but it didn't dawn on me he was disguised as the Maharaja. So
Yeah, I don't know if it really works with the golf setting in the first part very well, because we see the Joker And then a little bit later, we see the Maharaja playing golf, and it seems like he's been playing with the mayor for a while, that they've been hanging out for a while. And it's like, when did the Joker, like, change and turn into this character? It might have been a clue if some of the guys with fezzes, and I do appreciate fezzes being used for the first time in this series. I appreciate a good fez. Um, but some of the guys in fezzes, if we on a second look, if you were like, oh, those were some of the his henchmen, right? Like if we had seen because the Joker, we remarked, I think, in the last episode how it seemed like the Joker had more henchmen than we've ever seen before. Um, so if there's been a few familiar faces there, maybe that would have tipped us off. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. I think this one is got its good moments, as we talked about with the cliffhanger and the resolution there and some of the visuals and all that. Once again, Cesar Romero knocks it out of the park, especially when in the first part when he's singing that song, and as they're being tied up and everything like that. And but I think I when I was after I watched the second part of it, of course, I read the original story so that I could compare. The original story written by Bill Finger is a little bit different. It's got a lot of the same elements. The Joker does steal a lot of these things, and he does deal. He does interact with the Maharaja. There's no deception as far as the Joker really being the Maharaja or anything like that. But he does. But his whole purpose in the Bill Finger story is that he wants to be like he's tired of all these comedians on the radio and on TV and watching these comedians like get all the laughs. He wants to be the funniest, certainly the funniest criminal. He wants to make people laugh. He wants to be the ultimate jokester. So he's doing this on purpose to be, to be like to have jokes, to make people not really laugh, but as far as like he wants to be known as the biggest jokester of all time, and that's why he's stealing these meaningless things, and he's trying to mess with Batman and all of that, and it's really, really well done. I think this story, like by Bill Finger, is one of the best early Joker stories that there is. The Joker comes across as being more like demented and menacing than he usually does. He doesn't seem really silly, although he's doing some pretty silly things. And I think the original story is actually much better, and I wish they'd kind of stuck with that a little bit more, because there is this sort of thing where when they change it on the show, I think we commented on this in the first episode, that there's this, the Joker is telling riddles, and he's kind of using the Riddler stick. It almost feels like this is a Riddler episode that like they inserted the Joker in, at least the first part of it, right? And it just seems really weird and off. And I don't know, I don't know what the rationale was behind that. If they were just trying to figure out, because it's all, if you look at the original story, it's all right there. I mean, they could have easily made it so that this was very much joke oriented as instead of riddle oriented. Even Commissioner Gordon in the first part of the episode says this is really weird. The Joker doesn't usually tip off his intentions or give clues or anything like that. He just does stuff, right? Because we saw that in the high school episode as well as the one before that. So it's really strange. It's almost like they like the writers were like, hey, let's take this Joker story from the comics and make it for the Riddler, and then for some reason the Riddler wasn't available or something, so then they rewrote it for the Joker, and it has a weird sort of vibe to it. And it's one of the rare cases that I've seen so far is that we've been doing this show and reviewing this show where I don't think that the actual live action version matches or is as good as the comic.
Now you got me interested in wanting to read that comic story now.
You should. You should. I mean, I'm a big proponent of reading all the Golden Age stuff if you haven't already done so. I mean, if you're a Batman fan, you got to go back to where it started. And this is very early on. Like I said, this is 1949 where this came out, so this is very early on. And Bill Finger is one of the best writers. That's there's no doubt about that. I mean, Like he's not just a name that's associated with the co-creator of Batman. I mean, he actually really wrote some really fun stories, and this story with the Joker is like I said, one of the best ones from the early days for sure. I don't. It's weird because I don't think it's included in the greatest Joker because you gave a shout out to the greatest Joker stories ever told. I would put this one in there. I would put this one in there because I think to me this one is really really good. So
I'll have to double check and see if it is in there.
yeah, it's I don't think so because I was looking at where it's reprinted and unfortunately it's not. You can't read it as part of the at least as far as I know my subscription. You can't read it as part of the DC Infinite app. It's not available digitally, which I think is a shame. But it is available in Batman the TV stories. It has been reprinted there. So if you don't have this Batman and the TV stories hardcover, seek this out. Seek this out anyway, because this is an amazing collection of early stories, a lot of which were adapted into the show. But yeah, I do think it should have been, I would have included it in the greatest Joker stories ever told. But so that's my downside, and I feel like I feel a disservice. I feel like it's a bit of a bummer because this is the first time I think I've watched one of these episodes that we've done, and even though it's really fun, I'm kind of like, yeah, but I'm kind of disappointed because the original source material was a little bit better. And I think I even noticed that it was not up to the like I don't think this is better than the other two Joker stories, in my opinion. And like I said, there is that sort of weird vibe that it almost feels like a Riddler story in the beginning.
I was When I watched these 2 episodes, I did not remember seeing these before.
Yeah, yeah.
So this may be the first time I've seen them.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I mean, there's a lot to like. I mean, Adam West is great, Burt Ward is great. Everybody's doing their job, I think. Cesar Romero is knocking it out of the park whenever he's on screen. I love the dynamic between him and oh, what is her name? The girl, the gal, the villainess.
Jill
Jill, yes, yeah.
Jill,
And sort of
played
the
by
dynamic that she has about like not wanting to kill them and he's like kind of frustrated. I love in the first part of it that scene where he's like playing up to her like, "Oh, I'm going to give him a chance. I'm going to give him a chance." And then you find out that he's been joking all along, like deadly joking where he's like, "Oh yeah, if you can float to the top, but it's not water, it's gas that I'm like putting in there." And I'm like, that's a Joker moment. That's a Joker moment that was really pretty cool, I think. And that also reminds me of there's a great story. Um, uh, the One of my favorite Joker stories that I would also include in the greatest Joker stories ever told, which is the Killing Joke. And in the Killing Joke, there is a joke that that Joker tells Batman at the end about the two guys escaping from an insane asylum. Do you remember this?
vaguely.
I'm going to try not to
It's
butcher
it's
this.
it's been a while since I've read The Killing
I'm
Joke.
certainly I'm certainly no stand-up comedian, so I'm no for the kids out there, I'm no Henny Youngman. No, I'm not but I'm going to try not to butcher this, but anyway, the joke is something to the effect of there's two inmates from an insane asylum going to escape and they're on the roof and they're trying to escape and they got to go to another building and they're trying to figure out how they're going to get to the other building. And one of them says, "Hey, if I just take a flashlight, I've got this flashlight. If I just shine a beam across it to hit the other building, we can both like walk on the beam to get to the other side, to get to the other building." And he's like, "I'll light the beam and you go first." And he's like, "Are you kidding me? That's never going to work." And the guy says, "What do you mean?" He says, "Well, I'm going to get halfway across and you're going to turn off the flashlight." That's the joke. And it's not a, I mean, it's a funny joke or not a funny joke, and maybe my delivery is not as good as the Joker's, but it makes Batman laugh a lot at the end of that story.
I remember Batman laughing.
Yeah.
I do remember that.
So but this sort of like that kind of joke and that kind of humor, I think does I did get that vibe when we find out that the Joker's really not going to fill the silo or the column with water. He's going to fill it with gas, deadly gas. And I was just like, that's the same Joker that's in the Killing Joke. That's a Joker that I really like. So there are moments of this that I think are pretty cool, but overall, I think I was a little bit more disappointed in this story for the first time, I think, than I have been for some of the other stories. But if we're rating it, I'd still give it, uh, props and fun to watch. But I definitely encourage people to seek out the original story.
All right. Well, that wraps up another episode. Did you have a shout out, Mike?
I do have a shout out because I think it's been a minute. At least it certainly seems like it's been a minute since we've recorded. So I just want to remind people that I'm still, recording a couple of other podcasts. I'm still on the Earth Station Who podcast, and I think at this time that you're listening to this, there are no longer running new episodes featuring the 15th Doctor Shidigawa. But we are, so what we do in the meantime, when there's not new episodes, is we take out classic episodes. So we'll take out, so if you like classic TV from the 60s, 70s, et cetera, we will be tackling, we don't tackle those stories in order. We just kind of go with whatever story is on our mind to review at that time. So we kind of jump around between doctors, incarnations of the doctors. So I can't even tell you what we're going to be reviewing the week that you're listening to this or watching this, but it's a lot of fun. My co-hosts, Mike Faber and Mary Ogle, we're all co-hosts, all three co-hosts. So we usually have guests on, and we have a great time talking about Doctor Who. Even if we don't like the episodes, we have a great time talking about them and have a lot of respect for one another. And it's something we've been doing for I think over 10 years now, and we've just had a blast. So if you are interested in Doctor Who or classic TV recap and reviews, you'll definitely want to check out Earth Station Who.
All right. And for my shout out, I'm going to shout out about Batman Off World miniseries that we've been reviewing on my other podcast, the Earth Station DCU. It's written by Jason Aaron and illustrated by Doug Mankey. It's I'm going to give you a little spiel about it. A routine night in Gotham City for a young Batman proves to be anything but routine when the crime fighter is confronted with a sort of foe he's never faced before, one from beyond the stars. A universe of possible alien threats leads Batman to make a daring decision to venture alone into the far reaches of the cosmos for the very first time, where the Dark Knight will face the fight of his life.
I'm
So
interested to
it's
read
been
this. I like Jason Aaron's writing, especially over on Marvel when he was writing Thor and when he was writing Conan. I do appreciate his writing, and I've been curious about his take on Batman. So
it's
I'm
been really
really
good.
curious.
I've both Cletus and I have really enjoyed the series so far. So
Awesome.
we're still in the middle. We're still in the middle of it, and I've been impressed. It's pretty good. So I'm excited to read it every time we get a new issue.
And so Jason Aaron's writing. Who's doing the art? Do you know?
Doug Mankey,
Oh, yes,
and
yeah.
he was part of. I think if I remember right, he did some of the artwork during Jeff Johns' run on his famous Green Lantern run.
I believe that's true. I believe that's true. Yes, I like his art as well. So
So
yeah, that's a great team up. That's a great art team.
yeah, So yeah, it's the story's good, the artwork's good. It's a great miniseries so far. If you'd like to comment on anything we've talked about tonight, you can reach us at our feedback line 317-455-8411. Leave us a message, text us, or you can email us at batchumspodcast@gmail.com. Don't want to forget to let people know how to comment back on the show.
Not at all. Not at all. Unless you have like negative things to say, then just disregard all of that.
All right, are you ready to get out of here, Bat Chum? Now,
Now, now this bat chum is ready to move out.
atomic batteries to power, turbines to speed. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Don't worry, the worst is yet to come.